Alright, hello everyone, welcome. This is a video about some exercises that all wind players should incorporate in their playing at some point. Some of them are going to be more instrument specific than others, but these are all things you'll see in all wind music. So I'm going to try to start with some general ones here. First, we're going to have intervals. So I'm going to use B-flat scale for a lot of this. So those are just seconds, just the next note, the next letter. Now we can go further in the scale. We'll do thirds. And you can keep going until you get up to octaves. So that one's pretty hard, and there's not a whole lot of music where you're going to be doing that in that fashion. So the ability to do that will help you a lot. So intervals, just getting the different notes is useful on saxophone, and the real goal here is to have all the notes sound more or less the same. On saxophone, around D, if you're playing a concert B-flat scale, you're playing a G scale, around D it's going to get weird because that's where you add the octave key. On trombone, going between first and sixth position is going to be weird. So those are some things to think about. In trumpet, going open to 1 and 3, it's a little bit of there's a huge pressure change in the instrument, so that's a little weird. So intervals. Now, speaking of trying to keep the tone the same, how about the tone? So we're going to start with the concert F, which is going to be G for trumpet, B-flat instruments. This is going to be D for E-flat instruments, and F for concert instruments. French horn, let's think. I believe this is the B-flat, the fifth note of the E-flat scale for French horn. Not sure off the top of my head. Okay, so we're just going to try to hold out a note. And have it stay still. No wiggling. If you have enough muscle to hold it still, congratulations. You can blow with a steady airstream. That's really what we want. And then we're going to start manipulating that held note so we can change our tone and our tune, the pitch of the note. And this will help us achieve a better tone. We're going to start going down. On all wind instruments, it's much easier to go down. So, doing that. And that, what we really want to find is a place where the note resonates well. And try to have that go into other notes. Now, so I was just playing a B-flat scale, manipulating those notes. And if your embouchure is not set up in a way that you can do that, something's got to move. My previous video I talked about using the tongue to take a burden away from the embouchure, and that's probably what's happening. You're probably having an air or a embouchure crisis, and put some of that pressure, the difficulty of playing, on the tongue. Okay, so now we've got intervals. So we're going to do seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, and octaves, and you can practice that for a few months, just that first exercise. Okay, now we've got holding the notes and manipulating the notes. Their pitch, which will also manipulate their tone. And especially on saxophone and French horn, this is very important to be able to manipulate the tone of the instrument. You can have a very woody, barky tone on the saxophone, or a very pure, brass-like tone, like a singer. Okay, now we're going to go into a more brass-specific exercise, which is the partials. So, just going between, we're just going to start with 1 and 3, whichever brass instrument this is. On the trumpet, this is going to be a concert F, it's a G on trumpet, or this is 6th position for trombone. 2 T, 2 E, 2 E. And getting that to be faster. And once you can do that fast, that's pretty, I mean, that's as fast as your tongues will be able to move. So if you can do that as fast as your tongue can move, a lot of the burden's on your tongue. You're really going to be limited if you're doing that with your diaphragm. Okay, so now we've got the intervals, holding a note and changing the pitch, and then for brass players, the partials. And I started on 1 and 3 and I went up. Now we're going to go, start open, concert F, B flat, and going down. And now we're down to B flat, F. And then going back up. And that'll really help you with lip slurs. Now, let's do another more brass specific thing. We're going to go just the open notes. So no fingers, no slides, or slides in 1st position. So 3 at a time, then hold it. And the intonation of that partial is a little strange. Usually I would do that with 1st vowel. And you can add, as you're holding that the third note in this series, I was just going up and then I'm going to go back down. You can add the tone changing. Which is very useful. Really great to add to this exercise. So if you want to do that one, you're doing both at once. And I'm going to do that and with all the valve combinations. Slide combinations, 1 through 7th position. And if you have the trigger, try to do this going into the pedal register really low. Going back down now. So especially with bass trombone trigger, you gotta do those. They're useful for all brass though, to be able to manipulate your face in a way to do the low notes. Now let's go to woodwind, more woodwind specific. Trills. So trills are gonna be just like the intervals we were doing before, but wicked fast. And I'm doing them in the key of B flat. We want to do these in all major keys. Okay, so those are intervals, trills, next to each other, which is usually how we're going to see them. Rarely, woodwinds, especially, if you have a cadenza or something, you might see a trill at a different interval. that was thirds. You might notice, instead of doing the vowels back and forth as I went higher, it's actually just as easy for me to do a lip slur on the brass instruments. And that's not really something that's characteristic of brass, which is why that's one of my trilling at wide intervals, one of the sloppier things for me personally, and for all brass. That's just not as easy on brass. Woodwinds, you kind of just press a button. Not to say it's not difficult, it's just a different kind of thing. So now we've got the intervals slowly, we've got holding notes for the brass instruments, we've got the slurs, we've got the partials, exploring the open partials, the natural for the instrument, and then we've got the trills. So these are things that I do, not the trills so much, but all the other things I do every day, part of my warm-up. I spend about 5 or 10 minutes on each one. If one doesn't go so well, I might come back to that in the middle of my playing. So it takes me about half an hour to an hour to warm up. I don't feel any different at the end of my warm-up. I have such my embouchure set up in such a way where most of it's on the tongue, so muscularly I'm not like, you know, warmed up like I think most brass players would get. But it just kind of sets up review the difficult skills during your warm-up, so when you see those in music, you're not reading a song, the reading's going great, and then all of a sudden you're, oh, there's a trill, and we have to stop for 5 minutes and do the trill. You know, you already know that's already part of your playing. So we do the playing and technique first, and then we go on to the music. So the next part that I like to do every day is, I'll give you another exercise here. I like to do some Sousa marches, which are generally very staccato. Let's see, here we go. So some Sousa marches, very staccato, and just spitting out air, just so the tongue has immediate command of the air if required. So I'm just going to do a concert F, spitting out air like this. So I could do it louder, soft. So especially on this mouthpiece, that's pretty high. But as you can see, I'm spitting the notes right there. I don't have to, you know, any sort of weird lead trumpet kind of stuff. So then I'll play some Sousa marches. Now, I want to get the notes right, but I would say, considering this is part of my warm-up, and a lot of these I'm just bringing them up in sight reading. I'm not always worried about getting the notes 100% right. I'm much more worried about the notes speaking right away. Let's see. I'll bring up another Sousa march here. So just trying to get those notes to speak right away. And usually when I do these as quietly as I can. Notice not all the notes are speaking, and they're not all the pitch I want them to be. Slowly as I warm up, the quietly playing becomes easier. It becomes more responsive, and that's really what we want, just to be responsive. Same with the reed. Playing, the saxophone playing below the staff, the D and low C, getting that to respond while playing quietly, very difficult, especially for beginners. So this is something you want to practice, just spitting the air. Try to get the reed to speak right away. And on double reeds, oboe, speaking right away in tune should be the main focus. This is notorious for the do. Oh, there's the note. That happens a lot on double reeds. And then I'll do. So I'm improvise quite a lot. I kind of focus on jazz stuff. So I'll do the pentatonic scales. And this will change depending on what kind of music you're doing. I do those just so I have an outline of all the kind of chords and important notes I'm thinking of. Whatever key I need to go in, I can always refer back to these, to my warm-up. If I just need to do something burning in the key of B, so I've got these warm-ups and slurs down in those more technically difficult keys. I could just pull from my warm-up if I see all of a sudden, oh, we're going down a half step from the key of B flat, concert B flat to concert A, this is not good, I'll just do one of those. So that's always something useful for improvising. Now if you're focusing on classical, like if you're playing oboe, doing your major scales and having it speak right away, in tune, burning fast, for all the keys is something I would focus on, like a cadenza. That's not as common on trumpet, but it does, for the woodwinds, it's much more common. So that's something I might do instead of a pentatonic scale. And then I am ready to either take these warm-ups. If I'm working on, let's say I'm working on range, I'll take these warm-ups and just do them higher. Oh. So you can do those a little higher and try to get the sound quality to stay the same. They will change as you go higher. No one has unlimited range. So there's that. And after you've done this stuff, you're pretty much ready. If you can do all of these in tune, well, fast, then it just comes down to your sight reading. With these exercises, if you can do them unlimited speed, it's just how fast can you read, and that's how fast you could play. So the point with these, do these every day, so your technique is ahead of your reading. You don't want to be reading something and not have your fingers be quick enough. Which happens with me a little bit, because I don't do as much scale, just burning down scales as I should. But for most of my playing, that covers 98% of the things I see. So here we go. I'll do a quick thing here. Summon the heroes. So I'm learning this for my audition this semester. I missed one note. I played an E flat instead of an F sharp. But in the first 3 notes, I've done, well, in the first 4 notes, I've done over it's an octave and a half. So doing these wide intervals, that you do see them in music, and it's very useful to practice. like I was talking about how woodwind players typically, you want to just be burning down scales with cadenza. There's an F concert major scale right there. In a septuplet, sept is 7? Yeah, septuplet. And it takes up 1 beat. So it's very fast. You do see this stuff in music. This is one of the harder trumpet excerpts. It's one of the better sounding ones, the best ones. So do these exercises. We got the intervals, holding the pitches. For the brass players, we've got holding the pitches and manipulating them. For the brass players, we've got the open intervals. We got the twee exercise, tweet, 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 just going between different partials. And then we've got scales, having notes speak right away, spitting out air. And the goal is to play what we want to play, what we're thinking of. Not necessarily, even if you're reading music and you get some of the notes wrong, that's fine. We just want to make sure physically we're accurate and what we want to come out is coming out. It's like if you're shooting an arrow and you're not aiming for the target, and 700 yards away you hit a leaf on the tree you were aiming for, I think that's fine, because that's what you were aiming for. So that's really the kind of mindset we want to have. Alright, thank you.